One of the first top 10 videos I ever made was my top 10 Canadian prospects outside of the UFC and Bellator. Since then, some of the fighters on that list like Charles Jourdain, Marc-André Barriault, TJ Laramie, Kyle Nelson, and Tanner Boser moved on to the UFC, while others like Adam Deichka, Jordan Graham, and Chris Anderson moved on to better things. Today, it's time to look at the new wave of Canadian fighters with my brand new top 10 Canadian prospects in MMA. Once again, I will be choosing talent that is not signed with the UFC or Bellator and that have been fighting pro for less than 6 years, meaning that they started their pro careers after the year 2015. That means that guys that started before or in 2015s like Aaron Jeffrey and Achilles Estremadura are not eligible for the list. Since there are so many great prospects in the country, I couldn't do this list without numerous honorable mentions. So here they are in no particular order. Josh Kwiatkowski, Dario Sinagoga, Lucas Neufeld, Matt Speciale, James Clarke, Justin Condie, Christian Larsen, Alex O'Neill, Ergys Sigeta, Serhiy Sidey, and finally Serge Dancos. Let's move on with the top 10, and at number 10 it's Jamey-Lyn Wessels. If there's one thing that we do not lack in Canada, it's women's talent, and Jamey-Lyn is one of the best examples. She began her pro career in 2018 after defeating UFC fighter Lupita Godinez twice on the amateur circuit, and she quickly racked up a 4-0 record as a pro with finishes of fellow prospects Jat Masson-Wong and Corinne Laframboise. Jamey-Lyn is already a very complete fighter who trains with a very good camp with the Smith brothers at the Sound, and she was supposed to be on last year's Contender Series, but things didn't end up working out. There's no doubt that she'll continue to be at the forefront of the Canadian women's MMA scene before she inevitably makes the jump to the UFC within a year or two. At number 9, we've got Kyran Cameron. The welterweight prospect from Ontario has remained perfect since his pro debut in late 2018 with a 5-0 record with 4 finishes. He already started 2021 on a good note with a submission of the year candidate at BFL 66 when he defeated fellow prospect Keenan Keller by first round e-look. He's quickly moving up the Canadian welterweight rankings, and he will probably be in contention for a title in a Canadian promotion before the end of the year if he keeps up the pace. That makes him by far one of the most exciting prospects we've got in action right now in the country. At number 8, it's Jasmine Jasudavicius. Like I was saying, Canada does not lack women's talent. Jasmine is still very young in her pro career as her first fight took place in July of 2019. Still, she's off to a pretty good start with a 5-1 record, her lone loss being a very controversial split decision in a CFFC strawweight championship fight. It was also the fight that convinced Jasmine to stick to 125, where she is a complete tornado. She pushes a very high-paced fight, throws volume on the feet, and is not afraid to take it to the ground and grapple if need be. She is also training under Chris Prickett at one of Canada's fastest growing gym, Niagara Top Team. Along with Jamey-Lyn and Lupita Godinez, Jasmine is the next breed of women's talent that we will get to enjoy in the UFC in the coming years, and that's very exciting. At number 7, it's Tony Laramie. He's the only fighter who was on my first list and is still on my second list as he started his pro career in 2017 when my first list was published. Back then, it was clear that the younger Laramie brother had lots of potential, but he was still very raw and pretty much relying on his natural skills more than anything else. It got him a 2-2 record to start his pro career before he suffered a significant injury that put him on the shelf for almost 2 years. When he came back for Prospect Fighting Championships in 2019, it was clear that the young and promising fighter was starting to turn into a more technical flyweight that was going to be very hard to handle. He won his next next 3 fights, claiming the PFC flyweight belt in impressive fashion against 24-fight veteran Claudio Ledesma at PFC 13. There are no doubts anymore that Tony Laramie will be a very good flyweight in the future, and the crazy thing is that he's still only 22 years old. A couple more wins and he will probably be joining his older brother Tshay in the UFC. At number 6, it's Teshay Gouthro. He's not the first prospect from Niagara top team on the list, and he will not be the last one either. There are not many fighters that impressed me as much as Gouthro in their pro debuts. He came in for his first fight at BTC 6 in 2019 against Paul Fisher and looked like a 10-fight veteran, winning by doctor stoppage in round 2. His striking looked crisp, he was aggressive but still very composed, and he looked pretty much unfazed by the moment as he was focusing on his game plan. Even his last fight, which was his first defeat, he lost a razor close decision on days notice to another top prospect who had twice his experience. He pretty much looked as good as you can in defeat and put everybody on notice that he was going to be a problem in the bantamweight division for years to come. At number 5, it's Mateo Vogel. This guy made his pro debut for TKO in 2018 without having a single amateur fight, and he submitted fellow prospect and grappler James Clarke in the very first round. He then took a fight at 145 against a way bigger opponent and won by second round submission after surviving a very tough first round. Just the other week, he returned at CFFC 95 and overcame a 10-7 round 1 to score an enormous comeback win by second round submission against a 5-1 prospect. His only loss came by disqualification when he landed an illegal upkick on top Canadian bantamweight Xavier Alaoui. Vogel is still pretty green and unidimensional, which is normal as he only fought 6 times in his entire life, but his jiu-jitsu is next level and he can submit everyone he tangles with on the ground. With such an X factor in his pocket, he can just work on rounding out his game and he will become a force to reckon with for years to come. At number 4, we've got Zackery Powell. Another grappling specialist and another Niagara top team prospect on this list. Powell is a relentless wrestler who possesses a very dangerous submission game. He recently moved from his hometown of Gatineau to Niagara Falls to push his career to the next level, and he's one of the few Canadian fighters who had the chance to stay active in 2020, fighting and winning twice. Powell has dominated the 4 opponents he faced since his 2018 pro debut, and he will be looking to keep his momentum going in 2021 as he actually prepares for a fight against another well-regarded Canadian prospect. Like Vogel, it will be very interesting to see Powell's game develop on the feet in the future, as he has still not faced an opponent that was able to force him to strike with him. With his naturally dominant style, Zackery Powell stands as one of Canada's brightest prospects, and with the moves he's making as of late, it's pretty hard to believe that it will not pay off for him. At number 3, we've got the White Lion, Yohan Lainesse. Nobody capitalized on the year 2020 like Yohan did, as this guy's rise in the last year was pretty amazing. Under the TKO banner where he started his career in 2018, he was looking to take his fights to the ground and beat his opponents up with his ground and pound. Then COVID happened and nobody was fighting, but Yohan was able to stay active during the pandemic, finding a new home in Cage Fury Fighting Championships. He came in with 2 huge KO wins in 2020, one being a viral flying knee KO that really put his name on the map and showed the huge improvements he made in his striking game. Then in early 2021, Lainesse fought another undefeated prospect and he had to dig deep to get the win, fighting through exhaustion and showing a very good fight IQ in the process. Right now, Lainesse is 6-0 and he's probably looking at a CFFC title shot in the very near future. With some small adjustments regarding his energy management during his fight, I think it's safe to say that the White Lion is one of the most UFC ready prospects on the list, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna be there soon enough. At number 2, it's Isac Blais. Even though he's by far the less experienced prospect on the list with only 2 pro fights, it's impossible for me not to rank him this high because this kid is a natural in every aspect of the game. He's super quick and athletic, he's long and lanky for 135, which gives him a very good reach for the division. He's also been training for a very long time, starting with Patnod gets to know as a teenager. He's a very technical striker on the feet, but somehow he won almost all of his pro and amateur fights by submission, as he's also very tricky on the ground. In short, he's already a very complete fighter with the natural skill set to improve at a very quick rate. He's also a gym rat who is always there working on stuff and improving his general MMA game even when he's not booked to fight. That leads us to Blais' only real problem. Nobody wants to fight him. He made the jump to pro quite quickly because he had problems finding opponents on the amateur circuit, and he's faced the same problem as a pro, suffering from many cancellations before the pandemic shut everything down. Blais is still only 24 years old, and I'm pretty sure he'll pick it up where he left it off when he gets the chance to step back into the cage. And finally, at number 1, it's Anthony Romero. When I first saw this guy fight on the Contender Series last year, I couldn't believe he only started fighting pro in late 2017 because he already looked so UFC ready. He's a very complete mixed martial artist who relies heavily on his great fight IQ to win fights. He's super composed for such a young fighter, and his style can really remind someone of his idol, Georges St-Pierre. He's not one to take useless risks in a fight, and he pretty much already has a championship winning style at only 9-0. With huge wins on the Contender Series and LFA, it won't be long until Romero gets the chance to test his style in the UFC's lightweight division, and he'll surely be one of the most promising fighters when he gets there. There's no doubt in my mind that the Niagara Top Team fighter is the brightest prospect in Canadian MMA right now. This concludes my top 10 Canadian prospects in MMA list. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. You can also follow MMA Talk on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Spotify to stay tuned on the most important MMA news. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.